it's pushing through that. It's staying the course. It's remembering, why shouldn't I be able to do this?
Hi, and welcome back to Quest Markers. On this show, we talk about video games and the people behind them. My name's Marina. I make music and sounds for video games, and today I am so excited to have Mike, the founder of Archangel Softworks, with us. Mike is currently developing a narrative-driven racing game called Highway Noir, which we worked on together. I should say action racing game. And or you can actually help me better define the genre. But today we'll be focusing the conversation on what indie game development is really like, especially when you're bringing on freelancers to be a part of the team. As always, if you're watching the recording, this episode will be timestamped, so feel free to jump around as you would like. And let's get into it. Mike, we have a tradition on this show that before we get into anything, we talk about how we're staying hydrated. What are you drinking? What are the fun drinks that you've got?
Okay, well, I hope to be allowed in because I am staying hydrated. I've got my water. That's essential. I also have peach and orange tea, but the best thing about that is the Minecraft mug that it appears in. That's I think that's mossy stone brick with a creeper poking out of it. Yeah, I love this mug. Nice and big, holds lots of liquid, keeps you hydrated.
How much does it hold? I feel like I could put like a good liter of coffee in there. Maybe not quite.
I've never measured it, but challenge accepted. I mean, it's 6 p.m. where I am, so probably not the time to try it, but yeah, one day that needs to happen. I'll let you know.
Perfect. I'm gonna guess half a liter.
I'm gonna write that
down.
We'll
follow up. All right. I can't wait to get a message from you. Like you were wrong.
Well, it turns out it's actually more than that, and yeah, I'm bouncing off the walls, but don't let that concern
you. It's not the evening for me, so I do have my mandatory beloved coffee. I also have water, but I'll probably be drinking the coffee more than I'll be drinking the water, as is also tradition.
Well, that's just priorities.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, before we get into talking about Highway Noir, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So Mike, obviously. I'm based in Britain, if the accent didn't give it away, and the fact that it's 6 p.m. and I'm not allowed coffee. So I have always played games, always been a total nerd about it. And it's in the last few years that it's a long story, but I'm just lucky to be able to have a go at having a proper go at setting up a studio, doing some game dev. I have one small game out to my name. I have a couple of things up on itch.io. Excuse me. But no, it's great to get into a big project and give that a proper go. It feels like something I've always wanted to do, and I'm close to actually finishing it off.
Yeah, and you're doing it.
I am actually doing it.
You are. I love to start conversations by learning about how people get into game development because everyone has a different path. So tell us a little bit about how you kind of took your interest in games and became game dev.
So yeah, playing games for as long as I can remember. I had a Commodore 64 when I was, I think we're talking 6, 7, 8 years old. That's some of you will probably be able to age me from that. So always had the games on tapes that you'd put in, and it would spend 20 minutes whirring and beeping, and it may or may not load a game. It was a few years after that. My dad is a software developer, and with his encouragement and guidance, I just started writing some really simple, very basic programs. First game I ever wrote was 12 years old. It was a one-question, multiple-choice quiz. You had to press A, B, or C for how many letters there are in the Greek alphabet. It's 24. And that was it. I kind of went dormant on making games for a while. I didn't do much with the software, but once I got to university, I started playing around with it again. I picked it up. I made my own version of Snake, put it down a bit for a while longer, then got into a career in software, sort of boring commercial software, not games, sort of serious grown-up stuff. But that I think that helped me with my skills, just working at computers in general, talking to the computers. I sometimes think of it as a conversation when you're
Mhm.
writing code. You're trying to tell the computer what to do. The computer is finding ways to not do it for you. Um, it feels like that some days. And I just found that I would keep having ideas, and I just wanted to do some of these ideas. So I'd be working away at prototypes in my spare time. And like I say, just very fortunate to be able to go beyond prototype, beyond little thing that sits on my hard drive and have a proper go now.
I love that. Hopefully the computer does do what you want
Eventually,
sometimes.
yes. I think of it as arguing with the most pedantic person you know. It can be done. You've just got to ask for exactly what you want.
I remember the way you're talking about that reminds me of the first time that I was in Unity Engine many years ago
Ooh,
now,
yeah.
where I was like, why isn't this working? And it was just
Hmm.
bug after bug after bug. And I was like, oh, but it was just working just now. What, my script was fine. There were no errors. What's going on? So,
Yeah. And then you add in a line and you don't realize that, oh, I added
yeah,
three instead of subtracted three, or
yeah,
I asked for the value, not the text.
yeah,
Something
yeah.
like, you knew what I meant, is what I keep saying to my screen.
Yeah, that's it. But I think that experience early on really taught me that the fact that games exist at all is
It's a miracle.
miraculous.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
totally. I mean, the first game, if I'm not wrong, or certainly one of the very early ones, was on an oscilloscope of all things. It's
Mm,
just amazing what people can pull out of the bag
mm,
with
mm-hmm,
the same tools.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Even seeing kind of how far games have come from a graphical fidelity standpoint in the last, I was gonna say 20 years, but even more than that is incredible. And it's so cool
Absolutely.
seeing the accessibility of game engines help so many of us that are in the indie space create experiences. So tell us a bit about your upcoming game that we worked on together.
We
Or
did.
I contributed in a small capacity. Tell us a bit about Highway Noir.
So Highway Noir, I struggle with the genre of this as well. I tend to go for action driving. I've certainly heard racing. I've heard new take on a runner. So mechanically speaking, that seems like the place to start. You're cruising down the highway, and it's all about weaving in and out of traffic. You're flooring it, screaming along the highway like an absolute demon. It's I think what it came from is playing games like Need for Speed and Grand Theft
Mm,
Auto. And what I would find is that, yes, there were these bits where you were sort of going down streets and you're doing these handbrake turns, but there's almost a flow state to cruising along the highway and trying to stay one step ahead of the police. So what I wanted to do was just take that bit and make it a whole game. And so, yes, you're trying to escape from the police, you're trying to catch up to people, you're trying to stay out of helicopter searchlights, just finding different variations on the theme. So, as you say, that is also narrative driven. So, story wise, you start off as an elite driver for the Major Crimes Agency. That's my fictionalized version of something like the FBI. For the Canadians in the room, CSIS, you helped me out with that one, thank you. If there are any Brits in the room, the National Crimes Agency. So, your first level, operation goes wrong, not your fault, but the blame's pinned on you, you're fired. So you take your skills to the black market and you do these dodgy contracts for anyone who's willing to hire you to be a getaway driver for a bank heist or deliver a package or whatever it may be. But every so often, this mysterious caller will appear, Merlin, and ask, do you want your revenge? If you help me, I'll guide you to what's going on. I'll tell you why you were fired, and we're going to take down the people who threw you to the wolves. So what I'm trying to do there, it started with the mechanics. I just wanted that cruising along the highway thing, and then thought, okay, but why are we doing this? There's always been a revenge story at the back of my mind somewhere, and the two ideas sort of collided, and I took it from there.
that's awesome. I'm very keen because I haven't played the full game either. Like I've tested
No one has
builds,
yet.
but I'm really excited, especially about the narrative because my jam, like, give me a thriller, give me some mystery, and I mean you've got me. So yeah, I'm very
That's the
keen.
hope. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I'm
And
super keen.
yes, to your point, you made a particularly big contribution because musicians, I have absolutely zero musical ability. This is something everyone needs to understand. So when I was at university, my housemate had an acoustic guitar. Everyone had a housemate with an acoustic guitar, obviously.
That
And
was
the
me.
riff for or you were the person with the
It
acoustic
was.
guitar. I found the tabs for the riff from Smoke on the Water. It's 035, 0365, 03530. And I could just about do that on the wrong strings, and that's the height of my musical accomplishment. Um, but I was told I went to a conference where I was showing some people this game, and someone made the comment that it's the music that's going to make it.
Mm,
That's what's going to set the atmosphere. And I was able to say, yes, good news. I'm already hiring people. And just play testing, debugging. It is
mm,
absolutely amazing what a difference it makes having the music on and off. It just feels
mm.
so much more epic with the music. So you and all the other contributors, it's not a small contribution. You have really elevated it.
That is very kind. I mean, excuse me, have always been of the opinion that music kind of provides the emotional tone
Yes.
to a scene. But yeah, how many composers worked on the game? Actually,
It's come to a
I don't know.
total of nine.
Nice.
The first was a friend, someone I've known for years, who came to me and said, I'm bored. Please let me make some music for your game. I just need the impetus to get back into making music. And yeah, sure, okay. And then at the other end of the spectrum, of course, I approached you and said, are you open to commissions at the moment? And there are people who fall at various places along that spectrum.
That's awesome. Um, shoot, I was gonna say something before we moved on, and now I've forgotten. It's gone. Oh,
Sorry.
I was gonna say before we move on, I think so much of music, playing music, composing music, working on music in any capacity is time and skill. I mean, that's a whole
Yes.
other conversation, but like when you say or when I hear someone say like, "Oh, I don't have any music ability," I disagree. I push back on that because
Okay.
I sincerely think that it's about so much of it is time, like spending time, getting things wrong over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and being able to overcome that and building the skill of whatever instrument it might be or composition, etc.
I'm sure with practice I could get better, but it's something I don't take to naturally or have never
Mm,
taken to naturally. I think it's the algorithmic stuff that comes
mm.
to me much more naturally. So writing the code, I can do that all day and I absolutely love it. But the years it would take me to get halfway good at music, the release date would be a long way off what it is.
I think that goes for anything, for
I'm
any
sure it,
skill
yeah, yeah,
and any
it
craft.
does. Yeah,
But
and
no, no, please go ahead.
sorry. I think for me, it's just a case of recognizing, okay, what can I do, and what is it going to take me years to
Mm,
get even halfway acceptable at, and
mm.
that's when you bring people on.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect segue into our next topic because you and I have spoken about this idea of this project isn't you have had a project in the past where you were or multiple projects where you've been a solo developer. You have a release out currently on Steam called Vectic Boosted where you were truly the solo developer on the project. And we've kind of spoken about this topic of you feeling like you are the captain of the freelance ship now because you've brought folks on to help with music
Hmm.
and other things. So could you elaborate on what that means? Because I love the visual of being on, I don't know, a pirate ship.
I appreciate the fact that it's a pirate ship.
It
That's
has to
ideal.
be.
Yes, of course. I mean, bonus points for that. Um, so yeah, what is a solo dev is something that I see bandied around a lot on social media, and it can get quite charged. There are people who say, if you didn't mine the copper for your computer, you're not a solo developer, through to people who say, who would people who would describe me as a solo developer. I think the most liberal definition I've ever heard is if you got hit by a bus, the project wouldn't get finished. You're a solo
Oof.
developer. Um, I'd probably I appreciated that. It was nice to hear, but I'd probably come back a little bit because I want to recognize that the people who do the music for me, the people who help me with marketing, who do voice acting, they are all essential. I could not do it without them. Um, So with Vectic Boosted, I did get hold of various asset packs. So some canned noises, some music that was it was good, but it wasn't tailored to the purpose. It worked, but I did everything myself in my mind, which it felt safer in some ways. So to be able to choose what you want to use and you're curating absolutely everything, um, there's no exposing it to other people. There's always the part of my brain that says people are going to look at that and say, "Oh, what do you mean you want me to be involved in that rubbish? No way." So I've kind of unlocked a new kind of imposter syndrome, which
Mm.
is serious, talented people taking my silly little project seriously. It's an absolutely amazing thing, and I think by putting yourself out there a little bit, and also by saying, "Look, I can't do everything myself," you get new ideas in. So I do remember that I said to you and everyone else who's done composition for me, I will send you the demo. Please have a go. I would love to hear what it says to you. So to me, it might say action adventure. To you, it might say something more melancholy or something more angry. And just get those ideas on board as well, which obviously working alone you don't get.
Mm.
So you feel in complete control, but it's actually really good to get some ideas from other people as well. And I think it raises the quality as well. I think of it a little bit as the difference between me going to the clothes shop tomorrow and just getting a suit off the shelf. It'll be fine, but if I got fitted for a suit, now that would be a suit.
Mm.
And art, music, similar idea. So there is the track that you composed for me, that is in no other game in the world. It is specifically tailored to Highway Noir, and it's the better for it. Those are the main differences in my mind. I think of it, it raises the ceiling. It
Mm.
feels a little bit exposing at first, but it just lifts the level of how good it can be.
I mean, that's very kind. But also I remember the process and how we worked together as I was kind of sending you demo ideas and we were figuring out,
Mm,
listening to your reference tracks and figuring out kind of what's the emotion that we want the player to feel. And I remember us doubling down on the feeling of overcoming, of like you
yeah,
almost like falling from grace and overcoming this massive challenge in front of you. And how do we get the player to feel that way in a way that, to your point, is very, very tailored to the experience? So I'm very happy
absolutely.
with how the song came out,
Oh,
and it was super
likewise.
fun, and loved getting feedback,
Oh,
and
good.
we iterated a fair bit. And yeah, we definitely planned a fair bit and spoke about like what tones would work and why.
Mm.
And yeah,
But
so
what was
that was a
interesting
good
about
time.
that is even that I feel like we arrived at together.
Hmm.
So you asked me for a lot of what do I see in it, but I also it was also nice to see some of your own reactions and your ideas coming through
Hmm.
as well. I feel like we got the best of both worlds there.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think that's where, to your point, the collaboration, working
Mm,
together in diverse perspectives will bubble up kind of, I think, the
yes,
best outcomes. Um,
definitely.
but I can also see how being the captain of the freelance ship can very quickly become overwhelming because, to your point, you're the only one touching the code base. So tell us a little bit about how you balance all of the different moving pieces because you're balancing kind of the in-engine work, design, testing, managing contractors, marketing, administration. There's so much. So yeah,
You're
what
quite
systems
right.
do you have in place?
What I generally do is I focus on the core stuff. So a lot of days I'll sort of pretend that I'm the only one. I kind of create a bit of a partition in my mind. So I'll be working on the game and I will code up a music player. And I will code up, when does the music come in? When does it fade out? When does it need to be that bit quieter? But whatever, I could drop any WAV or MP3 in there and it will work. I'm just going to carry on with that. That's my working day. But when a contractor I'm already in touch with gets in touch with me and says, "Hi, I've got a new demo. Have a listen to this," I will try and. I'm really bad at managing this. The single word answer to your question, how do you balance it, is poorly, because something like that will come in and I will immediately want to have a listen. I will immediately want to know. Um, But it's kind of by design. I wait for it to come in, and then when it's available, I have a look at it. I do my feedback on the spot while it's fresh in my head, send that off, get back to what I'm doing. As far as things like admin, the actual project management goes, the answer again is very poorly. So I have my lists, but the way I manage myself, I tend to ask myself what's in front of me and what is the next thing I could do that'll make it feel that little bit more like a
Mm.
completed game. Um, and just keep following that process every time. Right, okay, that's done. What's the next most important thing to make it feel complete? What's the next most important thing? Um, for marketing, you also mentioned, that's another thing that I have outsourced. So I found a really good marketing agency who are helping me out there. There's stuff I need to do myself. So the trailer, I did make that myself, but that was with their ideas, with their suggestions. So actual doing outreach and things like that, that's not something that would come naturally to me. That's not something I'd be very good at, which by my logic suggests it's a good thing to outsource.
Mm.
So that's a weight off my mind. I do, of course, do a little bit myself, so I do try to be active on Blue Sky. What I tend to do with that is I think it's good to show something, show this feature working, or a screenshot of a change that I've made. I tend to do that at the end of the day. That's one thing where I
Mm.
do try and keep my flow going. Just take the screenshot, save it away, and then often after I've packed up work, this is probably a really bad habit, but I'll just push it to my phone and then I can sit there on the sofa and post that on Blue Sky. So I say, yep, I'm done with work. And then I immediately pick up what is technically more work, but it does keep it a little bit constrained.
Mm.
Um, I think that's what I try to focus on the stuff I'm good at and react to things as they come in. I want to be responsive if I can. I do occasionally fail to find something in an email that I should have responded to, but that's an honest mistake. By and large, I try to be the guy that people would willingly work with again.
Oh, 100% would work with you again. No
Oh,
questions
thank you
asked.
so much. No one has yet told me they wouldn't, so that's good.
Um, I like the fact that you have something that kind of bookends your day at the end of the day, where you're like, I need to do my. It sounds like maybe just one social media post or however you engage with it, but it sounds like kind of the end of the day is like a little bit of social media time, and that's a signal to your brain that okay, we're almost done for the day.
It has kind of become that. It took me a while to arrive at that system. I used to do a lot of it during the day,
Mm.
and then I realized that actually that's something that I can do without my big roaring computer in front of me, do it later. And yeah, I think it's helped it flow better. It also means that you get the most advanced possible version of the feature.
Mm.
Because
Mm.
I'm sure that something I have done, I can't think of an example, but I'm sure I've done it, is posted a screenshot and say, hey, look at this amazing thing I did. And then 5 minutes later, I've made it even better. I thought, why did I do that? I should have waited.
That's okay. Save it for a second post.
I guess so.
But it sounds like you've brought in kind of quite a few people as you helm the freelance ship. Tell us, how do you decide who to work with?
So this is something I've come to think of it as being a bit like party selection. Um, so I mean, it works more in the kind of Dragon Age mold than it does in something like the what's it called, Aliens Dark Descent mold or XCOM. So ones where there's always one character who's locked in and you're the main character. But okay, so for my build that can do code and currently can't do music, who do I need to complement me? I need musicians. And like I said, it's good to get people with different ideas as well. So we were talking about overcoming and defiance and resistance. Maybe someone else sees something different. So you pick a party member who is going to see slightly different things or comes from a slightly different background. So the way I actually find people to choose from, a lot of people actually reached out to me. So there will be musicians, there will be voice actors, there will be artists. They will slide into your DMs and ask, are you looking for anyone to do stuff? And the answer will be, actually, yes, I am. It involves a bit of research. I'll have a look at the portfolio. I won't just say yes to everyone on the spot, but yeah, if someone's reached out to me, I don't see why not. That's a good way to find people. Um, I've also had recommendations. So one guy said, "Oh, I've got a friend who I think he'd be really good for this. Do you want to hear a sample of his stuff?" Yeah, absolutely. And sure enough, he was fantastic, and he ended up doing a track as well. Um, it was Develop in Brighton last year. I went to a conference and found people booking meetings with me. Of, oh, yeah, okay, this'll do. Accept the meetings. That was how I found my marketers. I found three musicians that way. And then there are a couple of people who I was already interacting with, already friendly with on social media, and said, just FYI, I also do music or voice acting. Do you now? Because those are people who I already have a good feeling about. And so it would be nice to work with them. I mean, it's a little bit wishy-washy, but I do feel like I've just trusted my instincts on things. There are some people you get a good feeling just from what they've been posting. You think, yeah, I think I would enjoy working with this person, and that served me well. And the final way I found people is by following their contact form and submitting and saying, would you be interested in working on this silly little game about cars that go fast in black and white? And that was you.
That was, yeah.
Fortunately, you responded that you would be interested. Oh, and of course, yes, I mentioned earlier the one guy who came to me and said, please let me write music for your game. I'm really bored. So yeah, I think overall it's be open to, as a developer, be open to people who are reaching out for you. If you're a musician or an artist or a voice actor yourself, don't be afraid to reach out. You might have developers. You could be the right person at the right time. That's definitely been my
Mm.
experience, and it's been really helpful not starting out and not knowing how to reach out and what the rules are, to have someone pop up at just that moment and say, "Can I be of service?" It was really helpful. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I feel like putting myself in your shoes, does that kind of take the burden off of you searching for people, initiating a conversation?
It does a little bit, and I don't want to say, oh, it should always be the artist's responsibility to reach out. It's definitely not. It can work both ways. But I think it speaks to that point I made earlier about there's just that little part of me, that new imposter syndrome of, is someone going to look at this and what makes you think I'd want to be involved with that rubbish? But if someone's
No.
come to you, you know that's not likely.
Mm. Oh, I didn't
Uh,
even think of that actually. Because when you
I
reached out to me, my initial, because we had followed each other on Blue Sky, I was like,
yes,
"Oh yeah, I love the art direction of this game." Like
thank
the
you.
and maybe we can kind of go into talking about that because, um, yeah, I love, and I don't even know what one would call that style, but I love just how maybe stylized is the right word. I love just how stylized it is, where you have the like black and white city, and then you're kind of the beacon, kind of in a way, right? Because like as a player, you're driving a relatively brightly colored vehicle, and I really like the art direction in general, kind of stylistically and from a color palette standpoint. So yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit about the art direction, how that came about.
So there are a couple of answers to that. So I was inspired largely by, there's no getting around this, so I'm just going to say it. I was inspired by Sin City.
Mm,
So if anyone's unfamiliar with Sin City, it's filmed in black and white, but there are splashes of color, which I believe mimics the original comic book. So maybe the main character's car will be in a particular shot will be in color, or someone who's in focus will have just a little bit of saturation, whereas everything else is completely desaturated. Very, very stylized.
mhm.
And that's a style that's always spoken to me. I used to mess about in, it wasn't Photoshop, I forget what it was now, but I had a picture of a chameleon sitting on my hand, and I desaturated everything except the chameleon just to make it pop. It's just a style I really love, and part of the reason it came about is this is me working within my limitations.
Mm.
So I think it's about the third time I've said now that my strength is in coding and algorithms. So art is not my forte, but I've arrived at this sort of philosophy of tricking maths and logic into doing the art for me. So this came about when I was messing about with some acrylic paints one weekend, and I can't paint, but what I can do is sort of make interesting splashes and perhaps put down a circle and splash around it, and physics will draw for me. And it's a similar kind of idea. I can do the models in Blender. What I can't do is the textures. So what about this really stark style where there are lots of flat colors or brickwork I can do algorithmically? Um, Anything like that I can do just by saying, right, shader, follow these rules, do it for me. That's something I'm much better at. There's all sorts of stuff in there. There's Perlin noise, all these sort of weird numbers-based concepts. But in color is a whole other layer of thing that you have to think about, that you have to balance right. Black and white, not that you don't have to think about the balance, but I think it helps you out a lot. I mean, they say that black and white photos are very flattering, and I think it might be the same for an art style as well. So that was a direction that I decided I wanted to go in very, very early, and I haven't regretted it. So I'm
Mm.
pleased with how it's turned out.
Yeah, I mean, I personally love the art direction, and
Thank
I
you.
love that we're seeing so many independently made games with really cool art direction and worlds
So,
that players want to spend time in.
Something I learned a long time ago from watching reviews of people pointing this out is that a solid art direction is going to be to failed attempt at realism every time. The most important thing is
Mm,
that your world looks cohesive. So if
mm,
it doesn't matter if it's not the greatest graphical fidelity of all time, it's far better to have something that's consistent than it is to have something that's realistic over here, not quite realistic over there because you got it from a different asset pack. If it all ties together, if it looks deliberate, it will probably look good.
mm,
And because I'm not EA or Activision or whoever they are, I can't do Call of Duty 11 million. So I'm going to do something else and I'm going to find a way that I can tie it together and make everything look deliberate, even if it's
mm,
not the most advanced graphics ever put to screen.
mm. I love that you called that out because that's how I think about music and sound as well, where
Oh,
it's like
interesting.
when we're making music, is this going to be cohesive for the player? Is the player going to feel like this belongs here? And same with sound. Is the player going to feel like these sounds belong in this game?
Mm,
I think about cohesion a lot as well, where it's like, is the
mm.
player going to notice that something is out of place? Is one of my stress tests. And another
Yes,
is because
like
it's
that.
hard to kind of yeah it's kind of hard to put your finger on like exactly what cohesion means and feels like, and so I always like to get feedback, and I guess
Mm.
that's why we worked well together is kind of that conversation of like, is this going to work, is the player going to feel these emotions that we're trying to get out. So
And so
um
far, yes.
I mean, I played a recent build that this was very recent that you sent me, and it's always cool when your song comes up and you're like, oh yeah, this is this is really cool. Um, but you're getting close to launching the game. We've kind of been talking about our direction was locked in fairly early on. Tell us a little bit about what the prototyping stage looked like, because I feel like that's really where one hashes out like the foundations of a game.
I'll show you something actually. This is something I keep taped to my monitor so that I can always look back and see how far I've
Oh, no
come.
way.
This this is the earliest build that I could find in my
That's so
source control.
cool.
Yep. Um, so the prototyping stage, what this came out of, I'd finished Vectix Boosted and I wanted to start a new project. And what I was supposed to be doing, I won't say too much about it exactly because I might actually do it one day, but at the back of my head, I had this idea for a sort of PS1 style horror game, which I know you're keen for me to pick up again. Um,
Give me
yeah.
PS1 style horror. That's love.
Oh, absolutely. No, I completely agree with
I'm
you.
gonna bother
I
you
think
every
that,
month. Hey,
come on, where is
is the
it?
PS1 horror game out, please?
Where's Don't Come Out? Um, So I was working on that and I hit a bit of a roadblock because I had I had the concept. What I didn't have was the mechanics of the story beginning to end. I was like, "Oh, I know it's a good idea, I just can't get the nuts and bolts of it.
Mm.
This weekend I'm just going to do something a bit different, change of pace." And I'd had this sort of weaving between traffic thing in my head for a while. So I thought, can I just make one cube go in a straight line and go left and right to avoid other cubes? Yes, I can do that. Okay, can I make it go around curves? Yes, I can do that. What about bumps and ups and downs? Oh, yeah, I can do that too. What if I made it look a little bit more like, before I knew it, I had a different project and I'd forgotten what I was even doing on my PS1 project. So, and I would say I like to joke, but sadly it's the truth. What I tend to do is work on a prototype with the intention of coming back and starting again once I've prototyped, and then I carry on building and release the prototype. And I've been very guilty of that multiple times. Um, I do find sometimes that I will get to a point and I will go back on, it'll be the same code base, but I will overhaul things. I'll look at and go, well, that's not good enough. Why am I doing it that way? That's really bad practice. Right, let's do it properly. Let's make this production. Um, what I have, I don't think I've ever actually got to a point and thought, let's start the code base again. Although what I have done is I have various abandoned projects littering my hard drive that have informed what I do now.
Mm.
So I'm able to get off to a better start, knowing, okay, I tried this once and it was a dead end. Do it this way. Ah, yeah, that's worked. So I've sort of, my past self has done some prototyping for me.
I
That's
like
very
that.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kind of iterating, taking learnings from smaller projects and then applying them
exactly. Yeah.
to
They're,
something
they're
bigger.
not abandoned builds, they were practice.
Yeah, I really like that actually, and I talk about this a fair bit uh with friends about like
Hmm.
how if we're let's say we're trying to learn a particular skill. It doesn't matter what it is. My brain goes to something like within technical audio. But I think that it's great to just carve out time and scope a very small practice project for ourselves to practice that one thing. And it doesn't matter
Definitely.
if no one ever sees it or hears it. It's the purpose that it serves is just practice. Um,
Yeah.
and and yeah, I've had so many, if you look at my old hard drives, I have so many songs written that had a very deliberate purpose of I really want to learn how to, I don't know, synthesize this particular sound. And that's this project. Or I really want to learn how to do this audio engineering thing. And that's a particular project. And then before you know it, months or years down the line, you're like, oh, I've already learned how to do this thing in that small project and
Yeah.
this other thing. And your knowledge comes together and you kind of look back at past you and are so grateful for the time that past you
Yeah.
spent doing those
Yeah.
things because they weren't like, I think some folks might see that as like, oh, failed projects that never got released, but I very much see that as practice. As we're here, we're
I
spending time on our craft.
I always come back to the idea that it's not experimentation unless there's the possibility of failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're, I mean, okay, if someone somewhere, maybe every experiment of theirs has worked out amazing, but I'm definitely not that person. You found a path that didn't work, or
Hmm.
you found a path that did work but isn't quite there, and you figure it out later. Um, it's all useful. It all contributes. It all adds up.
Hmm. Yep. Agreed. Knowing what doesn't work, I think is equally as valuable as knowing
Absolutely.
what does. And why. The why
Definitely.
is important,
And
I think.
why?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Um, with that in mind, we're talking a little bit about failure, challenges. Tell us what has been the most challenging thing about working on Highway Noir.
There are a couple of answers to that. There's the technical answer and there's the fluffy answer. So the technical answer is this is a bit of a curveball. The biggest technical challenge for me has been the menus, the user
Mm,
interface. That's it takes thought, obviously, because you've got to think, okay, how am I going to lay this out? Do I want the speedometer in the top left or the top right? A lot of those you just end up making a decision. Um, but there are also it somehow always ends up really fiddly. Like you've got to either find a control that does scroll bars the way you like, or you realize that's not quite right for me. I've got to make my own type of scroll bar. It's also where it's harder to get around doing actual art, which, as discussed, is not my strongest suit. I did find ways around that as well. There are ways that you can trick maths into doing the art for you. I think the main thing is that it can be quite repetitive. I'm sure there are ways to set it up better than I did, but if, for example, you've got 10 things in a stack and you add another one and it has to be in the middle, or you need to move some stuff around, you need to go back in and you need to work out all your ordering. So, oh no, that one is still pointing upwards to that one. I need to change all that around. So it's easy to miss things, and it feels like I always enjoy solving the problem. And I think once I've solved the problem, I can lose interest in doing the thing. And that's something that I need to keep an eye on myself for.
Mm.
Otherwise, I'd never finish anything. But with something like that, you can solve the problem in the menu, but you still got to do it for another 20 menu items. And you miss one and you have to come back to it, and you miss another one later and you have to come back to that. Then you have to move it all around. That's been the biggest technical challenge for me, weirdly enough.
I wouldn't have
Um,
thought.
Neither would I. That's the weirdest thing. There've been things that have taken me longer to get nailed, like I've been talking about shaders and whatnot.
Mm.
So I've got a shader that just takes a flat surface and makes it look like rain on a road. But I enjoyed doing that, so it was less of a challenge as such, because it was all solving one big entertaining problem.
Mm.
But the scripting, I feel like you've solved the problem and then you've got to solve it again and again and again and again.
Mm.
It feels like a puzzle game that's making you
Mm.
do the same
Mm.
puzzle over and over again when you've already proved you know the solution.
Right.
um, Whereas if you're doing scripting, maybe I really enjoy scripting events, because you can write a line of code, say, right, move this object to there under these conditions. Oh, look at that! How cool does that look? Right, now I'm to solving another new little problem, and it's always fresh. Menus, they just keep going. They're the gift that keep
Mm.
on giving. The slightly fluffier answer, I've sort of alluded to it, is that element of self-doubt, which I'm
Mm.
sure everyone has. So in my head, I still remember the little boy who used to write these absolutely terrible stories. I shudder thinking of some of the things I wrote, thinking, oh yeah, this is a great story about me fighting an alien invasion. I think, am I still that same little boy? Am I going to reach out to a serious composer who's won awards looking at you and say, do you want to work on my silly little project? And then they say yes, and it's the most amazing thing. But it's pushing through the self-doubt. It hit me quite hard at the end of last year. I'd convinced myself that, oh, this isn't going to work out, or I'm not going to get it finished on time. I am. It's going really well at the moment. But it's pushing through that. It's staying the course. It's remembering, why shouldn't I be able to do this?
Mm.
Keeping the belief. It comes and it goes, but when it's there, it can be a challenge to overcome it.
Mm. I think that
I'm sure
is,
everyone can relate.
I was gonna say, I think that is the eternal creative's dilemma.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah, for sure. And it reminds me of a conversation. I've been thinking about this conversation for weeks now that I had with a friend last month, where we spoke about kind of self-doubt and what that means in a creative industry, and this idea that ready is not a feeling, it's a decision. We choose that we are ready and we go and we do
Yeah.
the thing despite the fear.
I'm going to have
And
to remember that. That's amazing.
I have really been holding that close to my heart because I think that it's true.
Yeah.
The times that I've decided that I'm just ready to do something have been smoother. Maybe to go keep going on this pirate ship analogy. Had they have
R.
been smoother waters to sail because you decide that you're ready, and that gives you a little bit of a confidence boost. But yeah, menus. I wouldn't have thought menus. On the flip side, what's been the most fun? And I know these are absolute
Ooh.
questions. But
Oh, not at
you
all.
don't
No,
need to
no, that's
take it in
free
an
range. What
absolute.
has been? I think what's been fun, writing the script was good fun.
Mm.
The actual dialogue, when I say script in this instance, I mean the dialogue, mapping out the story. 'Cause that was really where I was questioning myself. Am I still writing these rubbish stories about me fighting alien invasions, or have I actually got something decent here? Fortunately, none of the voice actors yet have told me, "Oh dear, I'm not reading that." But no, it was nice to be able to think about, okay, who is this character? Why are they doing what they're doing? I get to choose what gets revealed and when. Coming up with the names for the things, thinking, "Oh, you know
Mm.
what would work really well there." I think that's especially creative. It's having lots of ideas, and as I'm sure this is universal to everyone who's creative. Ideas are not usually a problem. Okay, it's
Hmm.
possible to get into a rut, but a lot of us, we have more ideas than we know what to do with. But to be able to do some ideas, give some context to this weaving through traffic, that I really enjoyed that.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like that would be, I mean, I'm not a games writer, but I feel like that would be fun. Even down to your point, like naming things. Like what's this organization
Yeah,
called or what's this road called or what? Yeah, I feel like that would be, I'd have a
absolutely.
good time.
Oh, it was great fun. I mean, I do dabble in writing short stories as well, but to be able to put that to really good use,
Mm,
yes, brilliant. The stars have aligned. Let's do
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun.
I love that. We spoke about younger you, and I always like to end on what piece of advice would you give your younger self? But before we get to that, um, we've gone back in time. We've talked about prototyping. We've talked about development. You're now sitting on the precipice of release. There's no announced release date yet, but coming soon. How are you
March
feeling?
31st.
Oh, do we? Wait, is this
There you
official?
go.
Are we
It is.
doing an
I changed it
exclusive?
on Steam just the other day. Yeah,
That's next month.
it is next month. It is just under seven. Just under. It's about 7 weeks away.
We have spoken about this. Yeah, we have confetti in chat.
I
Thanks,
do like.
everybody.
Oh, I like those
Yeah.
snakes. Is that a snake or a T-Rex? Whatever it is, I
I
like
don't
it. I'm a
know.
big
I
fan
like
of
it.
reptiles. Yeah. Um, Yeah, so Next Fest is coming in a few weeks, 23rd, I believe. So there will be a demo playable in Next Fest. My marketing teams have sort of advised me keep the demo fairly close to my chest until it's ready to go. But I feel like I'm amongst friends here. It is actually on Steam if you want to find it. I've not made a big splash about it, but go find it if you're interested. That's there for the press preview, which is in 2 days. Um, yeah, I'm feeling really good about it at the moment. So I've got everything that needs to be in for the demo. I'm constantly thinking of new things that I want to add. So this morning I added a couple of accessibility features.
Mm,
I'll push that build up, but there will have to come a point where I say, right, better not to break it, just leave it.
mm,
Once I've done that, most of the core guts of the game will be done. There won't be a lot else that I need to do other than build out those crazy set pieces. Um, put in the dialogue, do the recording sessions with voice actors, get it all in, get the thriller element, the context, and that one of the bits I really enjoy. So
I
yeah,
love that.
it's looking good right now. I did
Sounds
have
soon.
that sort of Yeah, I did have that anxiety episode at the end of last year, but I feel like I got the pre-release anxiety out of the way before immediate pre-release. So didn't feel great at the time, but longer term, I might have done some good planning there.
I think that goes nicely into my last question because, and again, I've had this conversation with friends too of like, as adults, are we just trying to make our younger selves proud? And I think younger you would be really damn proud that you're on the
Oh my
precipice of this
goodness,
release.
yes.
But
I've
uh,
had people ask me if my younger self could see what I'm doing now, would he have believed it? And no, absolutely not. But oh, he would be so over the moon to see his
oh,
name attached to
that
this.
makes me so happy. I love that. Maybe in that vein, to end off on this question, if you could give your younger self advice, what would it be?
Can I go back in time with specific lottery numbers? I'm going to assume that I can't because that's the real answer. But what I would say to my younger self, I mean, he played a lot of games anyway, but I would say keep doing that. But
Mm,
think as you play them, rather than me just liking or not liking, think about why you like or don't like
mm,
something, because that will tell you later what's good to pursue. Because I remember learning literature at school, for example. And the question would always come up, how does the author develop characters? And I think, oh, why do we need the character development? Just make spaceships blow up. But then it's later that you realize that no, you need these things in there. And when you start looking for what authors are doing, you can put your finger on what's working and what isn't. Right, that's why character development is important, because it's just flat without it. So look at these games, ask yourself, what are you enjoying? If you could improve one thing, what would it be? What's the best thing it does? What's the thing it does the worst? And just no need to write a big folder or anything, but just keep all these things at the back of your mind, because they will be really helpful in your game dev one day. And yes, you will become a game dev one day.
I love that. I love that so much. Mike, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for having me on the project. I mean, I was honored to work together on this. So yeah, and I'm really excited about release, and I really hope people like it. And I'm excited also to experience the story, because you haven't spoiled it for me. Like I think I know maybe a little bit more than what's on the Steam page, but yeah, I'm very, very keen to play the story. But also thank you for having me on the project.
Well, thank you for having me. We've got into this loop so many times. I once joked that this is what happens when a Brit and a Canadian talk to each other. We just get into it. No, thank you, loop.
No, but genuinely, it was such a joy to work together on this and to help bring the world to life. I had so much fun. I'm so excited to play the game start to finish. And I have been so happy to see in the last couple of years indie games create such a huge splash, and just seeing more people play indies just makes me really, really happy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm so
it's where most of the novel stuff is.
But that's all the time that we have for today. Mike, thank you so much for coming on. As always, our socials will be in the description if anyone would like to follow along development coming up to a release next month. And if you have any feedback or topics you'd like to see us cover in the future, let us know. Mike, thank you so much again. Shall we open it up?
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing.
It's been so
let's
fun.
Open it up.
Let's open it up for Q&A, and we'll say bye to everyone watching the recording.
Thank you for watching the recording.
Thank you. Mike, there's a non-zero chance that I say Archangel instead of Archangel.
That's fine.
There's a non-zero chance.
That's absolutely fine. I've never really thought about it. I'm sure I've heard other people say Archangel as well, so I answer to it. It's absolutely fine.
Because it's arch enemy, but it's not Archangel, it's Archangel.
Really good point, actually.
Yeah.
I'd never considered that, but yeah, right, okay, scuttle off, change the name. No.